Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are here yet again, and we are going to be finally looking over 1923. So, your boy has actually been catching up on a lot of Yellowstone spinoffs slash Taylor Sheridan shows. So, again, if you guys have seen the first season, let me know what you guys thought about it down in the comments. But obviously, if you haven't, then I do recommend clicking on the video because this is going to be major spoilers. And of course, it took me a minute to figure out exactly who was who and the entirety of the show and kind of get into it because it did take me a minute. But this takes place from, of course, in 1923, the name, but also you have three different stories going into one. Now, I'm going to kind of break it up into different things so that way we can kind of go into that. But you have where obviously you have one of the main stars, Harrison Ford, who plays as Jacob Dutton, alongside Helen Mirren, who plays as Cara Dutton, who Jacob plays the younger brother to Tim McGraw's character from 1883. He and his wife were asked by Margaret Dutton because we find out that James died of a gunshot wound. Margaret died of hypothermia. They took in John Sr., and they took in Spencer, who is the youngest and also one of the other main characters in the show, and raised them as their own. Now, John does have a son by the name of Jack who gets involved with the character Elizabeth, who presumed to be Kevin Costner's character's parents, if I did do that correctly for the family history. And you have where Jacob is having issues, of course, with him being the livestock commission and having to handle other characters. But one of the main characters he has to deal with is, of course, Banner, who is a Scotsman who is trying to survive his own way. And he starts a war with the Dutton family by not only going onto his land, but shooting at Jack, which causes a massive issue. He even tries to hang him. And then he comes back for revenge by not only eliminating John Sr., but also taking out hurting Jack, hurting Elizabeth, hurting Jacob as well, almost dying, and Kara having to take care of her husband, her nephew, and her nephew's soon-to-be wife as well. Now, that's a lot to handle, and we see a lot of the normal issues from trying to keep the livestock up, between the winter, between bandits, between thieves, and we see a lot of, I would say, similarities in the John Dutton we know, Kevin Costner's John Dutton, to Jacob Dutton, and even a little bit of Jack. Now, again, I was not too big of a fan of Jack in the beginning, and now I think after him losing his father and then his mother taking her own life as well, which was very disheartening to see because as soon as her husband died, she felt like she had no reason to live, and she buried her husband, and then they had to bury her. And it really changed him. I felt like it really did his character some justice instead of acting like a ignorant, um, whatever kid, and he actually grew up a little bit. So, and then of course we find out later on that Elizabeth and him had a miscarriage with their first child, and that really took a big deep not only to the story but to myself personally. And then we also see where the land, after of course when Banner gets in contact with another rich owner, it takes a big hit to the story when you have this massive rich tycoon by the name of Donald Whitfield, who actually is trying to get the land of Yellowstone like normal. But we see where he gives Banner his house to live in because he wants to use him as an underling. And by the very end of the season, we see where he figured out, hey, let's use the land against him, and he pays off his property tax and is able to take it from him, which was a big, like, oh my gosh, are you serious? Because that even pissed me off, because that is not only a smart move, but that's also a lowball move, because we see where, again, it's always after the land, because he's trying to control the mines, he's trying to go into automobile business, he's trying to have everything from electric to indoor plumbing, everything. So that was just a big recap of that. So at the very end of the season, Jacob is again almost fully healed. Him and Carl are having to try to figure out how to save the ranch alongside with Elizabeth and Jake. So again, it's going to be what's going to happen this upcoming season. Then we have, okay, also Spencer Dutton, who he was in the military. He served in the war. And then he felt like he couldn't go back home. So he went to Africa, became a safari guide slash hunter. And he comes across the interest of Alexandria, who comes from royal descent in Britain, and she's very astounded by him as a person, as a human being. Pretty much falls for him as soon as she sees him. He does with her as well. And as soon as they go on this safari together, and she starts learning about his life and how he is as a person, they pretty much do fall in love very quickly, want to get married, and as soon as that happens, they're trying to enjoy what's soon to be, I would say, the pre-honeymoon phase, and then he's notified through via letter of his brother has died and his nephew was injured and his uncle was injured. So he's trying to now, okay, I got to get back home. I have to help save my family or help protect my family. And as soon as that happens, they come across just almost every single issue you could think of. They're trying to leave. They can't because, of course, of a woman being with them. And with her also having a prearranged marriage, that really messed it up as well because, again, that family's going to be angry with her along with her side of her own family. But they do take a tugboat ship, and that goes bad because the captain does die. I'm assuming of some type of illness, from whether it be lung cancer or some type of disease, and the boat gets stranded out in the middle of nowhere. And when they finally are survive and finally get help from a unknown vessel, and then the vessel picks them up, they're able to try to get as close as they can to America, to where they can get passage to America. And the captain of the ship marries them in international waters, and they do go to Italy. They wind up in Italy, and unfortunately, Alexandra, aka Alex, runs into her ex, and that causes a lot of issues with the ship that they now go on because, again, again, back in the time, of course, when there was arranged marriages, unfortunately, there still are in this world. The guy had a ego, and he was an egotistical, spoiled brat. He did not like the fact that she was aka stolen from him. He tried challenging Spencer. Spencer put him in his place not once, but twice, but 3 times, and the guy still wanted more. He challenged him to a duel, even though Spencer declined. And of course, after him insulting Alexandria, he accepted. They fight not once, but 3 times, and then of course, him being egotistical, this guy pulls a gun on him. And the only thing Spencer could think of was either throw him overboard or knock him out, because again, he had to look after himself and his wife. He throws him overboard, and the guy's father, of course, using his title, that's all he has, is he wants him in prison. He wants Alexander confined to the quarters, and they have another issue. And by the way the season ends, is they're separated. He gets to port somewhere, and she is imprisoned on the ship, and now she has to find a way to Montana by herself, and him as well. So that's how that story ends. Now to the third story. We have what I'm assuming either is the mother or grandmother to Rainwater, the character that we get to know in Yellowstone. We have Tiana Rainwater, who she is in a Catholic Native American school, and of course during this time frame when the government in America started going more west and expanding, they wanted to go ahead and put Native Americans into schools so they could pretty much dominate them slash convert them into Catholicism and pretty much save them from their damn souls in their own minds. Unfortunately, this girl goes through hell. This girl goes through a lot of hell. She gets into a fight with not only 1 but 2 nuns, from beatings to assault in many forms, and she can't take no more, and she leaves, and not before, of course, leaving to take out both these nuns, and then she's on the run from not only the church but the federal government. And her grandmother unfortunately gets caught up in this, even though her grandmother tries to take custody of her, and her grandmother ends up losing her life because of course, these idiots that are in the government at the time. And then she comes across a sheep herder who is taking care of these sheep that the Duttons gave to one of the local Native American tribes, and they already know if the government finds out, they're going to take it from them. So she ends up staying with him, and he says that his son is going to go and find her father at some point, which he does, but it causes more issues after her father finds out his mother was murdered and his daughter was treated very badly. And of course, these ones from the church take on, of course, this one son who was actually played by the character Moe's nephew, who unfortunately did lose his life in 2024 with him being murdered, which was really insane. And I hope he still gets justice for his murder. And we also see where the older Rainwater, she fights for her life yet again. The man that was protecting her loses his life. And we see just this utter chaos of the church and everything just going after her. And things like this, again, whether you want to say this is historically accurate or not, is still beyond just disgusting and crazy for what goes on in not only during that time frame, but also goes on in this world. And it really does show what not only some Native Americans went through, but what a lot of Native Americans went through. And I'm actually looking forward to seeing this side of the story, to see how the reservation became bigger and how they became, I would say, to a certain degree, where they either kept fighting or they fought back to a certain degree. And hopefully all these women that were in this pretty much almost like a concentration camp within the church, to where they get free and they're able to go out their own lives at what they will. But it's going to be very interesting. But 1923 is actually left not only on one but three big cliffhangers, and I'm looking forward to seeing how season 2 is going to progress and how these characters are going to be getting out of these messes and what happens. But overall, guys, that is the best recap I can say. I don't remember every character's name, so I do apologize. What did you guys think of 1923 season 1? Was it good? Was it bad? Was it very interesting? Did it take you a while to get developed in this? What is your overall standing on it? Can't wait for season 2. As soon as season 2 starts, you guys will be hearing some more of my comments about this as well. But let me know what you guys think about it down in the comments, and I'll see you as always on the next one.